Alright everyone, PlayStation Experience 2015 just ended, so as usual, here's our impressions and recap video. As usual, here's a little timestamp for the impressions part of the video if you already saw the conference and know what happened and what was announced. But if you did not see the conference, here's a little recap that we're going to do right now, covering every single announcement at PlayStation Experience 2015's Keynote. So, starts off with the typical sizzle reel of footage of games and stuff. Pretty cool stuff there. Uncharted 4 opens immediately, and then we get the reveal that there's dialogue options in the game now, which is pretty interesting. Certainly a new thing for Uncharted. Sean Layden takes the stage wearing a goddamn motherfucking Crash Bandicoot shirt. What the hell is up with that? Final Fantasy VII Remake is up next, and we actually see some gameplay for it. Also pretty surprising. It's surprising that the game's moving along more quickly than we thought. Final Fantasy VII PC port is out now. Shelby Cox of Sony Computer Entertainment America takes the stage to talk about some COD DLC, some COD League, some Star Wars DLC, kind of the typical third-party stuff that you would expect here. The Call of Duty stuff, we know that we're getting the map packs 30 days ahead on PlayStation now, so... Next up is Randy Pitchford from Gearbox to talk a little bit about Battleborn, which we saw just recently at E3. The open beta is first on PlayStation 4 early 2016. Next up, Yoshinori Ono is up for Street Fighter V. A new trailer for a new character, Fang, and there are DLC characters that are going to be... The DLC characters were announced. Gio Corsi takes the stage, shows off a trailer for Dead Star, and some new Adult Swim games that are coming to PlayStation 4. Pretty interesting stuff there. Next up, Tim Schafer comes onto the stage. Day of the Tentacle trailer, March 2016 for PlayStation 4. Also, Full Throttle Remastered was announced for PlayStation 4 and Vita. So, another great little classic coming on over. Psychonauts in the Rhombus of Ruin is a PlayStation VR game. So this is separate from the Psychonauts 2 announcement that we just got at the VGAs this year. But a Psychonauts VR game is also in the works. Don't Starve Together was announced. Console debut on PlayStation 4. Zodiac or Canon Odyssey and Yakuza 5 on PS3 is coming to the West December 8th. Yakuza 0 on PS4 is also coming to the West. The Last Blade 2 coming to PlayStation 4 and Vita. King of Fighters 14. And then Neo coming to PlayStation as well. Moving on, Sid Shuman and Nick Sutnar take the stage. A Bastion coming to PlayStation Vita for $3. Nice little low price there. Bit.Trip HD is coming as well. PS4 and Vita, I believe. Nuclear Throne also coming. And then there's a trailer for Brutal, so that game looks pretty sick. MLB 2016 trailer is shown off, and then Scott Rhodey takes the stage. Guns Up, out now for PS4. Fat Princess Adventures, out now on PS4. Ted Price is up next, of course, Insomniac Games, showing off some Ratchet & Clank gameplay. Great stuff there. We had a little announcement about the movie. The fact is, if you do have a PlayStation 4 and you have the game, you're going to be able to see the movie April 12th. Which is ahead of the theater release. Next up is Dr. Richard Marx, of course, from the Magic Lab at PlayStation, does kind of all the extra side peripherals at PlayStation, a lot of the R&D for PlayStation, and now we're going to be talking a lot about PSVR. Res Infinite was announced and shown off. That was pretty trippy, but that is a thing. Then Adam Boyes and Assad Kizilbash take the stage. Had to make sure I got his name right. They announced Eagle Flight from Ubisoft. That is coming to PlayStation VR. Pretty interesting trailer there. The Modern Zombie Taxi Company is coming 2016. Also a pretty bizarre trailer. Job Simulator announced for PlayStation VR. Also pretty damn weird, but sign me up. And then Gollum was announced for PlayStation VR. Another, out there sort of game. Perhaps the biggest goddamn bomb drop of the whole conference, 100-foot robot golf coming to PlayStation VR. Honestly, it seems like I would have developed that game. If I made video games, this is the kind of game I would make. 100-foot robot golf. Ace Combat 7 was announced. This is actually kind of a really left field kind of announcement. Presumably there's PSVR support there as well. Destiny the Taken King is up next, showing off some Sparrow racing. If you're into Destiny, there's some more of that. Hob trailer, making its console debut with PlayStation 4. Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom, a PlayStation 4 exclusive. So awesome that we got an announcement for that. And then Steve Superville of Epic Games comes up to announce Paragon, a new MOBA for PlayStation 4 and PC. And actually, that was it. That was the conference. So, Yeah, I mean, you go through some of those things and you're thinking, started off really strong, especially when you got Sean Layden taking the stage with a goddamn Crash Bandicoot shirt, and then they show the Uncharted 4 dialogue, the dialogue options, then you got Final Fantasy VII gameplay, and you're thinking, holy shit, what the hell is this show going to have in store for us? And then it kind of tapers off, and then it abruptly ends with the MOBA announcement. So, you know, I think the most fitting thing here is, yeah, a bit underwhelming, actually. And that's really what I kind of took away from this thing, is that it started off so strong, and you just, like, the energy of this show, like, even if you weren't there and you were just watching the live stream, you could tell, like, the energy for this show was pretty huge. Sony, of course, was hyping it up like crazy, and their last year's PSX, which was the first PSX they ever did, there was a lot of interesting announcements coming out of that, like, you know, Street Fighter V exclusivity and stuff, so we kind of had this impression that this year's PSX was going to have that same sort of feel, right? A big event, a big keynote, a lot of big, huge, great announcements coming out of it. And I mean, let's be real. There was some very interesting announcements coming out of it. You know, like, again, the start of the event was pretty strong, and you know, you did get some surprises in there, like Ace Combat 7, Ni no Kuni 2, and the PlayStation VR games. We kind of expected that to be there because we know PSVR is coming out very soon, early, you know, first half of 2016, so they gotta start showing more of that. But the whole thing is, like, yeah, you know, you didn't see any first party from Sony at the conference. You didn't see any sort of major sort of bomb drops, I guess. Like, that's what we were expecting, like a major first party Sony game to get announced, some sort of big AAA game. You didn't really get that here. And even then, you didn't get sort of any sort of, like, that's the thing, nothing really stood out this year at PSX. Like, running down this list, there's nothing that really pops out at you, like, oh, this is, like, awesome, this is crazy, this is sick, this is fantastic. It's just kind of, like, nice little announcements, I guess. And here's the thing, there's nothing wrong with that, it's just kind of the impression that we were given. And, you know, I say this every single time we record a video about E3 or Gamescom or Paris Games Week. It's that when people have such high expectations for these events, and I keep saying, like, you know, temper your expectations, basically. Don't expect 80 bomb drops, and just kind of, you know, just expect like the lowest, and you'll be surprised when something awesome actually happens. But this is, I guess, one of those rare cases where it really was truly underwhelming, because there was just a lot of gradual small announcements, and that, again, that's not a bad thing, but this is that situation where the impression was there where there was going to be something big coming out of it, and we really didn't get nothing big coming out of it. And, you know, I'm watching the show myself, and we're like halfway in, and I'm thinking to myself, like, you know, I'm enjoying the show, and I'm sure the energy there at the show is really good, and people are, like, enjoying themselves, but, like, I immediately thought to myself, like, this is the kind of show that's going to really upset people, because you're just not getting anything at this point, like, anything substantial. A lot of great small stuff, and that's what I enjoyed about it, and I'm sure that's what people at the event enjoyed about it, which was, it's like a lot of nice small stuff. And in fact, I guess this show really spoke to me in a good way, because I enjoy a lot of those smaller titles. I enjoy a lot of the smaller announcements that came out of the show, and, like, I want PlayStation VR to be awesome. I can't wait to you know, have it and play all the games for it, and it's great that they spent a majority of the show announcing a lot of cool PlayStation VR games, because that's the whole point, right? What are you going to buy a PSVR for if you don't have games to play on it? And so that now they announced all these cool games, and specifically these really weird games, like these they're, like, totally out there, like, you know, trippy, like I've taken a hit of ecstasy kind of games. They're so weird, like Job Simulator, the 100-foot robot thing. Totally fucking weird, right? I like that stuff. So this show, I guess, for me was actually, like, enjoyable, and I did enjoy it. But like I said, this is the kind of show that would probably upset the internet. You know, this is something that people are probably going to walk away from going, like, that was it, really? And I did get that impression even after finishing it. I'm like, oh, really? That was it? You do expect more out of something like this. But, you know, some of the other things I took away from the show is, this is what you get when Sony has complete control over an event, and they're not just doing it for investors, they're not just doing it for E3 or Paris Games Week, a Gamescom show, you know, Tokyo Game Show. This is what you get when Sony has complete control. And what I mean by that is, like, it's just so weird. Like, the energy was so much different at this show, and you could tell when, you know, Gio Corsi was on the stage acting so bizarre, and You know, he did the little fighting joke with Yoshinori when Adam Boyes was on the stage, and he was, you know, fooling around with Assad there, kind of making, you know, just cracking jokes left and right. It was just like such a weird energy that you really wouldn't expect from any other trade show. And yeah, dude, I don't know why, I don't know why Sean Layden thought it would be a good idea to walk on that stage wearing a goddamn Crash Bandicoot shirt. I initially saw that and I was thinking, like, no fucking way. They are not going to do what I think they're going to do. Because that's immediately what comes to your mind, right? Sony Computer Entertainment President and CEO of North America walks on stage wearing a Crash Bandicoot shirt. You're thinking, oh my god. Nothing happens. And, like, they constantly keep teasing Crash Bandicoot, and at this point, you know, it's like Crash Bandicoot's not going to happen. Like, it's just not. We all want it to happen. It's just not going to happen. Activision owns the IP. They just recently, you know, I don't even know, a few months ago, like, renewed it or something. I mean, it's just like, it's just not going to happen. But you see that and you're thinking, like, oh, what are you doing to us, Sony? Why did you do that? So the whole shirt thing was like, it was total bullshit. But I guess that kind of goes back to what Sony's been doing for the past few months now, which is that they're showing a lot of PlayStation pride, I guess. They're always playing to nostalgia and emotions, and they're always doing all sorts of, you know, social media about PlayStation classics, and, you know, the PS2 classics thing that which we now actually got a formal announcement on the PlayStation blog. You know, we did LTPS on Friday where we were talking about the rumor of Sony leaking that Dark Cloud trailer. Well, now we know. It's, you know, there's PS2 classics coming to PS4. They announced a few games. They're like $15 a pop. They are separate from PS2 classics. They are separate from, you can't use PS2 discs or anything, but, you know, these are somewhat premium PS2 games where they're up-rendered and they do have trophies. That actually wasn't announced at all at this event, which was, I guess, a little bizarre to not show it on, for that to not get stage time and instead just be posted on the PlayStation blog is a little weird to me. But yeah, I mean, that's how I feel. I feel like this was just a big show that was like fan service, which that's what PSX 2014 was supposed to be, and that's what it was. But you just expected a lot more because Sony hyped it up so much, and PSX last year actually had some pretty big announcements. So it was underwhelming this time. With that said, it's also a little interesting how a lot of these games announced this year at PSX were actually, like, available now. Like, that was, like, a reoccurring element of the show was, like, so-and-so is announced and it's out now. Fat Princess is announced and it's out now. Guns Up is announced and it's out now. Well, we knew about these. We knew about Guns Up, but you see what I'm saying, right? They're announcing games. They're out now. Final Fantasy VII port out now. So the PlayStation Store is about to get blasted with all these new games. So that's kind of a new interesting tactic. If anything, that might be cannibalizing sales because now all these games are just going to flood the PlayStation Store. They announced like too many games that are like out now. But the thing is, I was somewhat expecting this because, like, going back to like what we said on LTPS, you know, this is a whole new show being added into the rotation for Sony. E3, Paris Games Week, Tokyo Game Show, and now PSX. It's just like when you add a whole new trade show, that's just like you have the same level of announcements basically, and you just have a whole new show to do for people. So you got to spread out even more of those major announcements, I guess. And I was really thinking to myself, like, the night before the show, I'm like, what are they going to announce? Because, like, I don't know, like, I just don't see much coming out of it because they still have all these other shows to do in 2016. And those shows are arguably going to be a lot bigger because, like, we all know how big E3 can be. Tokyo Game Show hasn't been as big in recent years, so I guess they're kind of safe there. But I guess that also makes a good point for saying, like, you know, if you're going to do PSX, you better do it right. If you're going to make this big event for people and make it just for PlayStation fans, you should really do it right. And I mean, that's the thing. I wasn't there, but I could tell, like, from how many miles away that the energy at that show was pretty huge. Like, people were psyched, pumped to be there. And the show's not over, of course, so those people are still walking around the show floor now. They're going to be going to a bunch of panels, going to be checking out a bunch of the games that they just saw. So, I mean, that kind of goes into the whole excitement of actually being at PSX. So, despite the fact that PSX 2015 wasn't all that great, it was mediocre at best. A lot of people are outright saying it's terrible, and that's okay. But this is pretty much telling us that E3 is going to be awesome, you know, or Tokyo Game Show probably has some awesome stuff to announce. because if it wasn't here, it's going to be at another show. We know that Sony Santa Monica is in fact working on a new God of War that was announced last year at PSX. And it was like an indirect announcement basically with Cory Barlog saying like, oh yeah, we're working on a new God of War. We still don't know what Sony Ben's doing. At some point, Sucker Punch will finally be ready to unveil their new project, but that'll probably be like a few years out. And there's Sony San Diego. There's all these Sony studios. You know what I'm saying? Media Molecule is probably going to show Dreams, more of Dreams. We'll get more info on that. A little shocking that we actually didn't see more of Last Guardian. But that means we'll see it soon, probably at some point, I would hope. Anyway, I think that's pretty much it for my impressions of PSX 2015. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the show, even though it wasn't all that great, and hopefully the next shows will be even better. So I guess I'll just see you guys in LTPS next Friday, whenever we cover up hopefully we'll cover up some details that we probably missed here in this video, because I'm recording this the show just ended about 30 minutes ago. So, and granted, this will take like a few hours to go up because I got to edit it and everything, but yeah, we'll cover up everything in LTPS this Friday. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you then.